All right, let's move on now. The Prime Minister wants to meet with China's president during his upcoming Asia trip. What do you think is the likelihood of actually this happening, and what could it mean for trade between the two countries?
Well, the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister and indeed the Trade Minister have all made it clear that dialogue is important. That we're open to meetings where it's available, and I think the Prime Minister in his comments made it clear that his schedule is not yet resolved. We are as a government, consistent with the last government's approach, going to act carefully and sensibly and in the national interest here. There's no sugarcoating it. The relationship with the PRC has become more challenging and more difficult over recent years. More dialogue is a good thing, but we're just going to act carefully and in the national interest over these issues.
Just finally on IR reforms, business is very unhappy. They say that the government's rushing it. Is a Christmas deadline realistic now?
Well, I just think we've got to go back to the substance here. What the government's proposing is a suite of reforms directed towards three things, really. Firstly, delivering more pay equity and equality for women in the workplace. Secondly, getting wages moving again. And thirdly, spreading the benefits of collective bargaining to more workers and to more firms. Now, the enterprise bargaining system has ossified and got smaller over the course of the last decade. These reforms are sensible, moderate reforms that mean that more firms will be included. And the overseas evidence is very compelling. Australia is an outlier. More multi-employer bargaining leads to better employment outcomes, so more employment, less unemployment. It leads to higher productivity and higher wages, and it leads to more cooperative workplaces. That's the definitive, overwhelming overseas evidence. These reforms are directed towards achieving those outcomes. We ought to get moving with them. If it's about more jobs, less unemployment, higher productivity, more cooperation, and upward pressure on wages, which bit of that don't we want? These are good, moderate reforms in the national interest, and we ought to get on with them.
Tim Ayres, we do have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us.